Hi, welcome back to Therapy Designs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kelly and this channel is all about creating print-on-demand designs using Canva. So if that is something that you're interested in, please do stick around. So in today's video, I'm going to go over how to create this design right here. This is just a fun Easter shirt. We did go ahead and make this tie from scratch using a clipping mask and some different patterns and background colors, and then went ahead and put the little bunny pocket in. So if you would like to learn about this niche or about how to do this technique, go ahead and stick around. So as always, we're just going to start with our blank backdrop. This is 4500 by 5400 pixels. I'm going to try to make this a quick video today. I just want to show you another easy niche that you can do and that can be easily scaled out. As we are starting to look into the future, I'm starting to, put up a lot of different Easter style designs. And so we will go ahead and just do kind of an Easter theme to this one, but it can be done with just about any theme that you want. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll just start with the black background because I do usually try to design for black. So I'll come up to the top left-hand corner, select the background color, and go ahead and select black. Now, like I said, I usually optimize for black, but there will be certain designs and certain niches where black maybe isn't the most appropriate. Example, St. Patrick's Day, you may want to design specifically for green if you intend to put it on a green shirt. So things like that. So there will be designs where you're specifically designing for a particular color and black may not be the color that you go with, but most of the time the rule of thumb is to optimize for black. So that was my little caveat there. So on today's design, I want to go ahead and just sort of do a tie design. So you may have seen some of the t-shirts that'll have like the printed on ties, and the ties will have different patterns or different designs. And so you can do that for different holidays, usually work really well, or any other, particular specific niche that you want. So the first thing you have to do is sort of find that tie frame that you want. And so as I come over to the left-hand side and I click the Elements button, I'm going to go ahead and just do a search for necktie. Necktie, is that one word? There it is, necktie, bow tie. Now you can search for graphics or you can search for photos. For this technique, it really doesn't matter because I'm just looking for the shape. Obviously, I'm gonna go ahead and use a clipping mask over the top of it. So I'm really just looking for whatever that outline is. Now there's some cool ones here. You can do one that has a little bit of a collar to it if you like, versus one that just has the tie look. And so either way that you want to go with that. Because t-shirts don't print all the way up to the collar, they do stop, an inch or inch and a half short of the top. Something like a collar may not look as good printed on, so you may just want to stick with the tie. But again, you can do whatever you want. And you'll see there's a lot of kind of already made ones, Best Dad Ever, for example, right there. And you can pick any of these that you like. I usually try to go for something that looks a little bit more realistic. So here's this red one here. And so this one has a good shape to it. And so this might be a good shape that I like. I can actually bring it up so I get rid of that round part there and stretch it to fill the page and then center it on the page. And so that's kind of maybe up a little bit more because I want to cut off that curved part. There we go. And so that's sort of something I might do for a tie. I actually do like that shape right there. Some of these, the shape doesn't quite look good. It looks pretty fake, but I mean, it depends how realistic you want it to look. Some of them, it will separate kind of the knot from the rest of the tie. So like this design here, you can see there would be a gap. So when I put my clipping mask on, I could do a different clipping mask here and a different clipping mask there if I wanted to. I could here too, by the way. I could just separate it with a line, but this one would have like a gap in it. So you can kind of do whatever you want. You can go with sometimes the wider ties here, just because, the shirt is obviously really long. This is going to be narrow. So if you did something like this, which would be a wider tie, obviously you'd get, more space being covered. If I went like that way, maybe that would give me a little bit of a wider look, and I could pull that down. And so you can play around, and of course you can do different ones too. I mean, that looks kind of cool, but I'm going to stick with this one because I do think it just gives it more of a traditional and kind of more realistic look. If you can't find what you're looking for, by the way, you could always go to photos. I think when I initially did this, I think I took one from the photos, and all I did was I either did a background removal on it, or if it didn't have a background, I might have just used one of these and just cut off the circular part there and just use the bottom, and that works too. So You know, for example, this one, I could totally just cut that off if I liked the shape of this, crop it, and then I could stretch this one out to fill the page. And again, it all has to do with, you know, sort of shape and size. These are about the same though, so I'm not really getting a different size. Other comment I wanted to make on the photos, and I did make this mistake once, was not realizing that there was a little bit of a shadow. So right here you can see this is a photo and they put a little shadow behind it, so it wasn't completely cut out. Now you can get rid of that easy by doing a background removal and just cutting out that shadow, and that is totally fine. But if you don't realize there's a shadow there because you've got it against a black background and you don't see the shadow, then when you go to put the clipping mask on, it will go into the shadow, which is transparent, and it'll sort of give a blurred edge to your print, so you probably don't want to be doing that on this style of design. So make sure that you don't select anything that has a shadow. Make sure you've got some good sharp edges. Sometimes, even if I'm designing for black, I will go ahead and change the background color, even just temporarily, to make sure everything looks clean, you know, especially if I'm worried that something's like being hidden or blending in. So anyways, here's my tie frame. I'm just going to start by titling this tie frame. And I'll just go ahead and download this real quick. Download, it's going to be a transparent background, a PNG, and I'll hit download. And then we're going to go ahead and pick a mask. So what we want to put inside of this tie frame. So again, holidays work great. You know, any particular niche or interest would work great. Something like this where it's just red and striped probably wouldn't stand out very well. But okay, Easter's coming up, so let's say we want to put some Easter kind of style in there. We could just go with more Easter colors. We could go with Easter eggs or Easter bunnies. Lots of different ways you could go with trying to make it into more of an Easter tie shape. And so let's say I'm going to go ahead and just put in Easter. And again, you can go with photos or you can go with graphics. And so you might need to look at several. So I could just do, you know, Easter eggs going through here if I wanted to. You got to think it's going to be long and skinny or it's going to be cut out. So when we're trying to pick something, you know, you're looking for something that would look good as a mask, as a clipping mask. A lot of times patterns will look good. So if I was to put maybe Easter pattern and see what comes up, and see if I find any good Easter patterns that might work well in a tie. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you kind of have to create your own a little bit. Sometimes you can layer patterns on top of each other if it's got more of a transparent background and you want something that has a solid background underneath. You can layer. So I could put a plaid thing and then put Easter eggs over the plaid, for example. So there's a lot of different ways that I could go with this. And so these are photos. Let me go ahead and take a look at graphics and see what comes up. So for graphics, you know, I'm getting some fun Easter graphic type things. And so all of those would work well. Here's a cute one. I like this one. It's got just the Easter eggs in the diagonal, and so that's kind of cool. By the way, if you click on anything that you like, even if you're not going to use it, it will save it in your recently used. So if you're trying to decide what to use, you can go through all of the graphics, and every time you see something that you like or you think, ooh, that might be a good one, I might click on it. That one might be a good one. I might click on it. And I can go through like that. And then if I go back to my recently used up here, it'll show you all the ones that you selected. And so that's a good way to kind of, you know, go through ahead of time and pick out the designs that you like. So I'll do that a lot. I'll go through different designs, different, you know, photos or graphics. And if I see something that I really like, I'll click on it so that it will get saved in my recently used. That way I know that I can easily find it and pull it up again when I need to use it next time. And so that's just a little trick that I like to do. And so some of these plaids are really cute. Plaids look good on a tie. Here's some Easter eggs. And this is a great example here because this Easter egg one, you can see has a clear backdrop. So if I was going to make a tie, I would need to put something behind it. And actually it looks really good with this plaid here. So that might be the way I go because those colors look good there. I do kind of like the way that plaid looks. And so again, lots of different ones. Here's an Easter bunny one if I wanted to do Easter bunnies. Lots of cute kids ones. And so a ton of different ways we could go. I don't want to spend too much time on this. So let's just say I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to keep this one. And maybe I'll just get rid of all of these. And so I can just sort of drag them off the page. And so now here's what I'm sticking with. And so here's different ways you can do it. I could try to make this fill the page to cover the tie. Problem is, then it's not going to be a very tight plaid on the tie. So if you want to see what it's going to look like on your frame, all you have to do is use a little transparency. So if I come to the top right hand corner, there's a little checkered box that says transparency. If I click that, I can bring this transparency down so that I can see the tie underneath. And now I can see where the plaid would line up on the tie. And so you can tell you wouldn't get a lot of crossing here. So you probably want that plaid to be a little bit smaller. So for example, I might want it to look a little bit more like that, where I'm at least getting a good amount of the plaid in the tie. Now, if I do it like that, it's not covering the whole tie. So what I need to do is duplicate it and put one underneath so that it does cover the whole tie. This is where it becomes important that you have something called a seamless pattern. So not all patterns will work like this. Some patterns are not seamless. You can't just put them side by side and they'll continue to go. And if that's the case, then you might have an issue. For example, this one here with the eggs, it does not look like a seamless pattern. No, it's not. So I would not be able to use this one. I'm going to have to use a different one because this one is not seamless, meaning this doesn't cleanly go into this. So I'm just going to pull that out right now. But the plaids are seamless. So the plaid, I can go ahead, size up the way I want it, place it the way I want it so that the lines kind of go through the tie however I like. I can go ahead and click Control D, that will duplicate it, and then I can put the bottom one right underneath. Make sure that they're lined up. You can use the arrow keys on your keyboard. So there's the up, down, side arrows. It will move your graphic one pixel at a time when you do that, and that's going to make sure that you have clean edges and that you don't have any gaps or any problems. You can also go down to the bottom of the page. It's going to say about 10% zoom, and you can go ahead and zoom in so that you can zoom in to right where they overlap. That way you can see, oops, I got a little bit of a space still, it looks like. So I can either, come up with my arrow keys or down with my arrow keys until everything's lined up, just perfectly. And once I have it all lined up just perfectly, then I can go ahead and zoom back out. And once I have the placement all perfect, I can go ahead and get rid of my transparency by, again, clicking the top right, a little checkered box where it says transparency, and bringing it all the way back up to 100, and I'll do that for both of these. And so now I've got a plaid pattern that will go over my tie. Now you may just do the plaid pattern, or you may decide that you want to put some things on top of it, like I wanted to put that Easter print, but it was not a an all-over print, or sorry, it was not a seamless background, so that wasn't going to work. This one would work because they don't touch each other, so I could definitely just put one above the other and make it seamless this way. And so if I wanted to put some Easter eggs over here like that, what I would do is hit Control D, and I could bring it down, try to space them so that they look like they're evenly spaced, and I could do something like that. And so that might look cool. So that's one option that I could do. And there are some other ones here. Here's another one that's see-through, but I'd have to check to see if it's actually a seamless pattern. This one looks like it might actually be a seamless pattern. Like this egg goes right into that egg, for example. This plant goes into that plant. This one would be seamless, so this one might actually be a good option, but it doesn't look good with the plaid. This one would need a solid color backing because it's too small and it's too busy. But that's a good example of a nice seamless pattern. I know I'm taking a little bit longer here than I would like, but unfortunately sometimes you have to look for a while to find what you like. Usually when I do these videos, I've gone ahead and looked up ahead of time sort of what I want to use. I have done this before, but I am kind of just doing it on the fly right now to see if I can find anything a little bit better. And so again, sometimes take a long time to just sort of search and see what I like. because you do want your design to be good. If you have a good design, then you know you can always scale it out or do other things with it. So it's important that you know, take your time. You don't want to spend too much time, but you want to spend enough time that you've got a good product, because if you've got a bad product and nobody buys it, it doesn't matter if you've got 1,000 of them up. If they're all bad, no one wants it. So, you know, make sure you've got something decent. Again, anytime I see something I like, I can always just do something like this, pull it up. See, this is another seamless one, and this one actually looks kind of cute with the bunnies and the flowers, but again, I probably wouldn't want to do it with the plaid. So maybe I do the bunnies and the flowers and I don't do the plaid. So let's do this. I'm going to clear this, and I can go straight to my recently used, and it's going to show you all the ones that I just pulled up and used. And so that's how easy it is to just pull things up here. If I was to get rid of that, and let's say I really like this bunny one. So now I'm going to look, it's got some pinks. What color might it look really good on? It probably looks better on a solid backdrop just because it's really busy, and it probably would look good on maybe like a pastel blue or green, something that's pretty simple, because again, this is going to have a tight pattern to it, but it does look like, I'm hitting Control D, it lines up really well. So that is a seamless pattern. I can line it up just like that. So let's go ahead and pick a backdrop. Maybe I want something pastel, and so I can put sort of pastel or spring for backdrop. Put pastel background and see what comes up. And again, I can go graphics or I can go photos, doesn't matter. And so lots of different sort of pastel shades of background, some that sort of blend into one another, you know, that are kind of cool. Some are a little brighter, some a little darker. And so any of these that you think might look cute. This one almost looks like it could be an Easter egg, the way it's waving like that. That's actually, it's kind of cool. It's not seamless, so I couldn't just, you know, put one over the top, but it is big enough that I could probably do this, send backwards. I'll do it again, send backwards, and it would be wavy like that, and that might actually look kind of cool. Let me check the transparency here. So what you would have would be waves kind of going through the tie like that. And so you'd have like sort of a rainbowy tie, and you'd have these designs over the top of it. And so that's kind of cool, sort of a pastel rainbowy look, but it is still a little bit busy. So maybe I'll keep looking. I am looking for something maybe either a little bit more solid or abstract. This one's, you know, kind of cute. I could probably just take this. So it's just got a nice kind of solid but a little bit patchy background, which I think kind of looks cool. I could edit it, so I want it to be maybe a little bit brighter. Maybe I want to pull the saturation down a little bit, or maybe I want to pull it up a little bit, and I can play with that. I can go ahead, oops. I'm going to take this and I'm going to send backwards again, and see how the little bunnies look over the top of it. And they look kind of cool, and that's a lot more simple. So let's say I do this. Oops. So if this ever happens to you, it's because I made this larger than the page. And whenever you make any of your graphics larger than the entire page, it just sets it as the background, which is not what I wanted to do. So you can always undo this by right-clicking, coming down to where it says detach image from background, click that, and it'll pull the image back up. From here, I don't want it to be bigger than the entire page, but I want it to fill the tie. So I can fix this by even leaving a little bit of a gap there, or by cropping it from the sides, which is just fine like that. So now it's not filling the whole page. So now it will not set to the background. So I can still send, oops, bring forward. There we go. So I can still do that. And then I can keep coming with my little seamless pattern and line it up. I was just hitting Control D. And now what I'm going to do is make sure everything is lined up real nice. Obviously this one is not. I can try to use my mouse to do it. Sometimes you can't get good enough with the mouse, so you have to use the arrows on the keyboard. So I'm just pushing the down arrow on my keyboard, and it is just moving it down 1 pixel at a time. until I can no longer see a gap. This one also looks like it's off a little bit side to side, maybe off a little bit vertically. So again, I can just use the arrows on my keyboard to make sure that it is perfectly lined up. Nice. And I'll do it again. There's this one. That one looks pretty good. So once everything looks like it's lined up real nice and you can't really see any of the gaps, perfect. I think this is pretty ready to go. So let's just go ahead and do this. This is taking way longer than I meant it to. I'm sorry, but sometimes you do spend a little bit of time figuring these things out. So now I'm gonna call this Easter mask. Don't worry, the hard part's done. So the rest of it's super fast. So I've got my Easter mask. I'm gonna go ahead and download this. So I'm just gonna hit download. It doesn't need to be a transparent background. It could if you wanted to. Doesn't really matter one bit. I'm gonna let that download. And then what we're gonna do is jump over to Photopea really quick. If you haven't been watching my videos, I do use Photopea a whole lot. But Photopea is an absolute free site to use. All you have to do is literally type Photopea into your browser, and it should come up with a page that looks just like this. And you don't have to log in, you don't have to put any information in. All you have to do is click open from computer. It should pull up your downloads. From there, you'll open up your frame. So I put tie frame, click open, and it will pull up your tie frame. So there it is. And then from here, if I come to the top left-hand corner where it says file, I click there. 3 spaces down says open in place. I can click on that. Should pull up my downloads again, and now I can go ahead, click on my mask and open that. It should put the mask right on top of your frame. So this is what your page should look like with the mask right on top of your frame. Now, if it's not, you have to come over here because this is where it's going to show your layers. So I've got Easter mask and background layer. If, for example, I was to drag the mask down and now my tie frame is on top, then this technique won't work. So you do need the frame to be on the bottom, the mask to be on the top, and then you also need to make sure that your mask is selected. So right now background is selected. I'd have to click and select mask. Now this should be the default. I usually don't have to play with this at all, but I do know people have had problems. So if for whatever reason this isn't the default for you and it's not working, go ahead and look over there because that's probably what your problem is. From here, all I have to do, go back up to the top. I'm going to click on layer. I can, from layer. About halfway down, there's clipping mask. I click on that, and there it goes. It puts my clipping mask right in here, and here is my Easter tie frame, and that is literally all I had to do, really quick and easy. And so now all I have to do is export it. So I can do File, about halfway down, Export As. It's going to be a PNG. I can click that. Give it a second. It'll pull up this box here. This says tie frame. I can retitle it if I want. I can put Easter tie. It's a PNG, still 4500 by 5400 pixels. I just click save. Again, you shouldn't have to change anything there. It should just automatically save it to your downloads, and you can go right back over to your Canva page. Now, if everything came out the way you liked it, you can go ahead and get rid of all of this. If for whatever reason, maybe you wanted to make this a little smaller or a little bigger or play with the placement, then as long as you leave it up, it's really easy to adjust, right? So let's say I'm just going to leave it there, add a page. I'm going to go ahead and make this a nice black background so I can see how it's going to look on black. And then all I have to do, if I come up to my Uploads tab on the side here, this is how you're going to upload anything. Click Uploads, click Upload Files. It should pull up your downloads, and then you should be able to click on the one that you just made, which should be your Easter tie, and it should start downloading it right there. And so as your download is loading, you should see this little bubble start to fill up with a little teal fluid. Once it's all the way up to the top, then it means that it's, you know, completely downloaded and totally good to go. And so that's sort of what it should look like if you've never done that before. And so you can put any download you want into your upload file. So from here, all I have to do is click on it and I can pull it over. And so now, oops, I pulled over too. Here is my tie frame. And so I can, again, line this up. I'm gonna crop it in so it doesn't set it to my backgrounds. But there you go. So there is my Easter tie, and that is all there is to it. I could now put it on a shirt, and I could put it on any color shirt I want. I did, you know, obviously put a black background on it so I could see how it would look on black, but let's say Easter, and black isn't really the color I want. So I can see how it would look on different color shirts. So it would actually look really nice on a white shirt for Easter. It would look probably really nice on like a pink shirt or a light purple shirt. So any of those nice Easter colors, maybe light gray or blue or teal. Probably the blue, it wouldn't stand out very well. Yellow, you know, so you could put it on some of those more Eastery color t-shirt colors, and it'll look really nice. So from here, we'll just go ahead and, you know, if you don't want to make any changes, you can download it and it's ready to go on a shirt. If at here you did want to make any changes, you could do that now. So I could edit the image just like I would any other image. So at this point, if I wanted to play with the overall brightness or contrast or saturation, I could make the whole thing brighter. I could make the whole thing darker. I could add a little bit more contrast if I wanted to the whole thing, and that's really going to make those different colors pop. I could get rid of the contrast. I could do the same thing here with some saturation. I could add in some saturation. I could decrease the saturation. So sort of play with it however you want. So, or if you needed to use any filters or any other special effects on it, you could do all of your photo techniques on it here, and that would be perfectly fine too. So let's say it's just the way I want it. I can retitle it here, maybe Easter Bunny tie. And I can download it and it's ready to go. So I'm going to click save. I'm going to come down to download. You're going to leave it a PNG. You're going to want a transparent background. And now because we have more than one page, we're going to have to select the right page. So I can select just page 2 and done. So now it will just download just this one page with a transparent background. It'll save it as a PNG file. Oops, sold another product. And it is ready to go, ready to put on a shirt, and, you know, perfect for Easter. So this again can be scaled out. So you can put different holiday patterns on here. You can put all different, any niche that you can think of, sports niches, you know, whatever pattern or design that you want, that you could put writing on it, like best dad ever, or something like that. So a lot of different ways that this could be scaled out. What you could also do is I did a video on pocket designs. So I could even put a pocket on this shirt. Let's say I did want to make it a pocket shirt, and I could go elements and maybe I put pocket, and maybe from here I go with a little, you know, pocket. And I could make the pocket any color I wanted to. Let's say I was going to put this more on a white style shirt. Maybe I want this pocket to be maybe like a light gray, or maybe even a medium gray, something like that. Maybe a light gray. It depends on what style I put it on. And so there I could put a little pocket on it, and so now it would look like there's a pocket in the shirt too. From here I could even put like an Easter egg coming out of here, or a bunny coming out of here, or carrot. You know, you could get creative with different things that you could have coming out of the pocket. They probably already have some pre-made ones. So here's some pre-made ones with different animals. Here's one that already has a bunny. And so you could probably just go ahead and, oops, undo that. Probably just go ahead and use this bunny in this pocket if you wanted to. So if I wanted to just do this, it would have to come up here. You'd want it way over to the side. You'd need it to be kind of small if you really wanted to look like a pocket. And then from here, again, I could still make some edits to this. So maybe I want to take that and I want it to be a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit brighter, because it is kind of dark, right? Maybe a little bit more saturated in terms of, you know, the color of the ears, the pink. I could bring down the saturation. That's just going to make it gray. There's not too much color on this bunny. So, but you can play with it a little bit. I could even put a little pink pocket over the top if I wanted to. So, you know, different ways I could go with this. And then I could make this a design. So I've got the tie and the pocket and the bunny in the pocket. So I could put a little Easter egg on the pocket too if I wanted to make it look like there was like an Easter egg print. So all different ways that you can go to make yours stand out. You know, if there's a lot of other tie designs and you want yours to stand out, there's other different, you know, just little things that you could add just to make yours a little bit different. So something like adding the pocket with the bunny would make it a little bit different. Adding a little bit like, oops, I'm going to put a little egg right in the middle of the pocket. So it just looks like maybe it's printed on the pocket. You could do something like that. Or maybe you don't go with the tie, maybe you go with buttons, and maybe the Easter eggs make the buttons down the shirt. So lots of different creative ways that you can go with this. Let's go ahead and say I'm going to save it again, Easter Bunny tie, and I'll put pocket on here. And we'll go ahead and download it again. Now, if you've got lots of slots to fill, obviously you can put up lots of different variations of the same design. If you're limited in your slots, maybe you're on merch and you're on a low tier, then you have to really kind of pick your best ones and decide what you think is going to have the best chance of selling. If you're on something like Redbubble, where you can put up all the designs in the world, then, you know, have at it. You know, make as many variations of this as you want. Make it with the bunny, without the bunny. Make it with the tie, with the, you know, little buttons, with suspenders, with whatever, and do a bunch of different versions just for Easter, and then do it again for another holiday, and then do it again for another holiday. And so there's a lot of different ways that you could, you know, really scale that out if you've got, like, you know, endless upload space. You'd also have to have a little bit of an endless amount of time, but once you've done it a few times, it does get faster. So I am going a little bit slow explaining everything and really taking my time looking at stuff. Once you kind of get fast at it, this does go, and, you know, the hardest part is usually just, you know, picking out your graphics. And so just being able to kind of scroll through and click on the ones that you like and then go back to your recently used is a definite time saver. So something you might want to, you know, incorporate if you're not already doing that. So I hope you guys are having a good time with all of your sales. I hope you guys are coming up with some really good creative designs. If you have any questions about this niche or any other niche, go ahead, drop them in the comments section below. I'll try to get back to them as quickly as I can. And I hope to see you guys again next week. That's it for today's video. If you found this useful and would like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time.